Okay, so we're all kind of creeped out about, our phones listening in, right?
Yeah.
But what if I told you it's not just what you say anymore? It's about what you're thinking.
Yeah, it sounds like we're heading straight into an episode of Black Mirror, but we really are approaching this world where things like brainwaves, your emotions, even your subconscious could be data that's, collected
The
that.
about my brain. Okay, see, this is why you're the expert.
Yeah.
I am both fascinated and a little freaked out by this.
I don't blame you. And this isn't some far off thing either. California just put into effect this totally new law, SB 1223, specifically to protect something they're calling neural data.
Neural data.
Oh.
Sounds kind of Matrix weak, right?
Mm.
What is that in normal people terms?
It's any information that's like a direct reflection of the activity in your brain. So brain waves, nerve impulses, stuff like that.
Okay, so it's not just them using my questionable Google search history to guess what's up in my head. We're talking actual biological data.
Exactly. And the implications are huge, right? Think about it. Data like that being used to predict your behavior or your health or even just your personality, all without you even knowing it's happening.
Wow. Okay, so California's on the cutting edge as always, but this is a California law.
Mm.
Why should someone, say, in Ohio, care about this?
That's a great question. Have you ever heard of the California effect?
Yeah, vaguely.
Often where California goes, the U.S. follows. So this law, it could be like a canary in a coal mine,
Yeah.
showing us how we understand and protect mental privacy for everyone.
Makes sense. Big picture stuff. So let's zoom back in on this California law. What does it actually, say?
They actually define neural data really specifically in the bill. I'm going to quote it here directly. Information that is generated by measuring the activity of a consumer's central or peripheral nervous system, and that is not inferred from non-neural information.
Okay, there are some big words in there. Can you break it down?
Sure, it has to be a direct measurement of your nervous system, your brain. So central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord, like the command center. Peripheral is all the nerves that branch out to the rest of your body.
So if it's tracking, my hand movements or doing a brain scan, that's the kind of data we're talking about.
Right.
And they're saying it's like your social security number, your genetic data, that level of sensitive.
It shows you how seriously they're taking this. This data is so personal, it has to be treated really carefully.
Okay. So we know it's sensitive, but what does this law actually do to protect it?
So first, it gives people, consumers, some rights regarding their neural data. Companies can't just sell it or share it like they might with other types of data. You have the right to know if a company is collecting this data on you, and you can even ask them to delete it.
Okay, so I have some control. That's good, at least. But is it really that simple?
Well, here's the thing. It's a groundbreaking law, but not perfect. There are some holes in it, and I think one of the biggest is what they're calling inferences made from this data.
Inferences.
Mhm.
So they're not taking raw data from my brain, but using other stuff to kind of guess what's going on up there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say there's a company and they're using eye tracking, right? Not to see your brain waves or anything, but to figure out stuff about you, like
Yeah.
your personality or your emotions, or maybe even what you're going to buy next. That's a gray area. It's not totally clear if that's protected by this new law.
Okay, so that's where things get kind of murky. It's not just the brain data, it's what you can figure out from it. And that's where this cognitive biometrics thing comes in, right? I read about that in one of the articles.
Yeah, you're right. That GovTech article, they're really spot on about this. We got to think bigger than just brainwaves. Cognitive biometrics basically means ANY data that can be used to show what's going on in your mind. I mean, think about it. Your heart rate can show if someone's excited or stressed. Even really small facial expressions like microexpressions can show what you're really feeling.
Hold on, wait. So my smartwatch, which I thought was just judging how slow I walk when I take my morning walk, that could actually be collecting data about my mental state.
Potentially, yeah. And it's just getting more advanced, too. Imagine your smartwatch, but with some really good AI. It could maybe tell when you're bored in a meeting or if you're lying in a job interview, even if you're starting to show signs of depression.
Okay, that's both super cool and also kind of terrifying. I get it. Finding out about mental health stuff early could be really, really important for some people.
Yeah.
But it also feels like, I don't know, a slippery slope to a world where our thoughts aren't really our own.
You've hit the nail on the head. That's the big question. Where do we draw the line? This California law, which is great, don't get me wrong, it mainly focuses on actual direct neural data. But this bigger idea, this cognitive biometrics world, it's like the Wild West right now.
It's easy to just be like, well, that's some sci-fi movie stuff, but this is real. So what can we do about it? Should we all just, like, wear tinfoil hats now?
I wouldn't go that far. But you're right, being aware is super important. Like, people need to know what kind of data is being collected, how it could be used, and we got to demand transparency from the companies that are making and using this technology.
So it's bigger than this one law in California. It's like a much bigger conversation, you know? What are we okay sharing and what needs to stay private?
Absolutely. Remember the early days of the internet? People just like shared everything. Now we're all way more careful about our digital footprint. This feels like that. We're on the edge of a big change in how we think about mental privacy.
Yeah. I feel like we're barely scratching the surface here, understanding this tech and how big it could be and the risks. But this California law, it's at least a place to start, right?
Hmm.
What would you change about it if you could?
One thing is, they should make neural data mean more. Like anything that you can use to figure out sensitive stuff about our mental states, even if it's not direct brain data.
So it's not so much like where the data comes from, but what it tells you about us.
Exactly. We need better rules about consent, too. Like, sure, if you're using a meditation app and it's tracking your brain waves and you're cool with it, that's one thing. But what about when you don't even know your mental state is being watched? That's when it gets really iffy.
It's like even when you're alone, someone's still watching you, you know? Kind of creepy.
Definitely unsettling. And it just shows how important it's going to be to like really get this stuff. We need mental literacy in this crazy new tech world. We got to understand how it works, what it can and can't do, and how bad it could be if the wrong people get their hands on it.
Mental literacy. I like that. We talk about digital literacy, financial literacy. Maybe it's time we add mental literacy to the list.
Exactly. It's about being in control, not just being scared, right? Knowledge helps with that.
100%. So where do we even start?
Start by just like being curious. Ask about the things you use every day, the devices, the apps you download, the stuff you sign up for online. Read that boring fine print. And just be aware of what you might be giving away, even if you don't realize it.
It's like that saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Except now the product isn't just like our attention or our data, it's our minds.
That's a really powerful way to put it. This isn't just about, one law in California. It's about the future. Our minds, our privacy, how we even see ourselves. All this in a world that's just getting more and more intertwined with technology.
This whole deep dive has honestly been mind-blowing. It's a lot to take in, but also I feel like at least now I know a little bit more about what's going on.
That's what matters. And this is really just the beginning of the conversation. This California law is a good step, but it's not the be-all, end-all. We got to stay informed, stay in the loop, and just keep asking these questions.
Absolutely. So listener, if you found this even a little bit as interesting as we did, consider this your call to action. Go check out those articles we mentioned, do some digging on your own, and let's keep talking about this. Share your thoughts with us on social media. We want to hear from you. Because this whole mental privacy thing, it's not something that'll be decided for us. It's something we all need to figure out together. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and take care of those incredible brains of yours.